Thank you for joining me again today. Coming at you live from beautiful Mykonos in the Greek islands. I'm just staying here for a week with some friends for a birthday. It's absolutely beautiful. I highly recommend coming here one day and checking it out. So, I'm listening to this amazing audiobook right now, which is called Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, Living the Wisdom of the Tao, written by Wayne Dyer. It's a modern interpretation of this ancient spiritual text called the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. He was a Chinese philosopher from like 2,500 years ago. Have you ever heard of Confucius before? So Confucius himself actually asked Lao Tzu whether he could write down his teachings for the benefit of all. So then Lao Tzu went about writing down 81 verses to live by, which are basically like the wisest shit that anyone has ever written down. Yesterday I was listening to the 69th verse, which is entitled Advancing Without Moving a Single Step. And it's essentially like guidance on how to deal with enemies in this life. And it made me think because there are so many different people on this planet, everyone with a different experience of life and a different perspective. So it's just a matter of time before you encounter someone that you don't really see eye to eye with. We're all running this story in our head of how we think life should be. And there's this really funny saying in German, which is Was für ein Film spielt der denn? Which means, what movie is he running in his head? So because of these differences in the stories we're all running, from time to time you're going to end up in an altercation with someone, and that might just be verbal, it could be emotional, or worst case, it could even be a physical altercation. And it made me think about what the natural reaction is for most people in those moments, and I think it's usually one of one-upmanship, wanting to win that argument or that fight, and potentially even getting angry and agitated. The problem with that, though, is that by doing that, you end up creating enemies. I'm not sure if you have any enemies. I like to think that I don't these days, but I definitely had some relationships in the past that turned sour, and when I think back to the feeling that that gives me from back in the day, it's just one of like exhaustion and anxiety, really, and just feeling kind of drained. The point of this video is that I want to bring across a point from the Tao Te Ching that makes a very profound point about this whole thing. One of the lines in it says, "Making light of your enemies, you are sure to lose your treasures." Wayne Dyer, the author of this book, points out that the treasure that Lao Tzu is talking about isn't actually a material treasure of any sort. The treasure is your peace of mind. Having an energetic loose end like that, where there's a person walking around out there who's sending you negativity and hate and anger, and you yourself wondering about like, oh, what am I going to say next time I bump into them? And then next time I see them, I'll say this, maybe they'll say that, and blah, blah, blah. Doing that ends up costing you the most valuable thing of all, which is your peace of mind. Because that's just how our mind works. It's always trying to predict scenarios, and especially anything that has any emotion to it, our mind just gets drawn to and starts utilizing all of our emotional resources, to just try to work out these scenarios in our head. Worst of all, because we are all still running this 100,000-year-old programming of our fight or flight response, which used to serve us really well. Like, it used to be an evolutionary advantage to always worry about attack and danger. But these days we live relatively safe lives. So chances are that this enemy or whoever this person is that you're having these altercations with, you're probably not really in physical danger, but your body, the feelings that you'll get from that adrenaline and cortisol and all those stress hormones is really the same thing as if your life were in danger. And that just ends up draining our life force energy when we're sitting there in fear and anticipation of future arguments and fights and so on. I think personally for me, the reason that I've essentially avoided making enemies has been more because of the potential of physical harm or the potential of me being punished by the law if I retaliated. It wasn't really to conserve my peace of mind, which is the greatest cost of all, and to give that away just for your ego you know, because you couldn't back down, or you didn't want to back down, or you wanted to have the last word, or whatever it is just such a waste. Considering that time is our most valuable resource, it's the one thing that you will never get back. It's just a true shame to live your life always pondering and anticipating these negative encounters with your enemies that you've made. Therefore, Lao Tzu advises that in those moments where you're put to the test and you encounter opposition, that you need to practice becoming bigger than your ego. You know, seeing the oneness and everything, realizing that this enemy of yours is actually just another expression of the same life force that you are. And by doing that, by even potentially sending that person love instead, which is of course a challenge, but if you do that, you then put yourself back into harmony with natural law, and it will just help ensure that you live a long and happy life, free of enemies, free of physical danger. You know, at least you're minimizing those elements in your life. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that point across with this video, because I don't know if it resonated with you, but when I got that, it kind of blew me away a little bit. It gave me an entirely new reason not to make enemies and have encounters like that if I can avoid them. And since I'm all about, you know, thoughts and positive mental health and ways of improving your mental health, it just really struck a chord with me. The book is called Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life by Wayne Dyer. I'll put a link in the description. I highly recommend getting the audiobook version, because Wayne Dyer's just got the most amazing voice, and it's just such a great way to absorb the information. But it's just such a wise collection of writings to help you develop a perspective of life that allows you to live in harmony with everything. You know, seeing life through a lens of oneness rather than duality, which can cause a lot of trouble and a lot of anguish for people. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please click the like button or leave me a comment, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Namaste.